Hello and welcome back. This is Titus Valspar. Today I wanted to take just a moment and have a look at one of the newer characters that's been out in the past couple months. Actually, just came around a week or two ago and was added to the premium crystal vault. So you can now get Wasp from any of the character or any of the crystals in the game. And so I wanted to have a look at some of the interesting aspects of this character, and then jump in and showcase kind of a cool fight with the abilities and utility that she has. Now, one thing that I do want to point out, I mean, you can see this is a 5-star, or not 5-star, but a 4-star, rank 5 is what I meant to say, Wasp. I actually got her from the Gwenpool Goes to the Movies event and awakened her from one of those cinematic crystals during that same event. But a couple of things I do want to point out is she is now the new science glass cannon. As you can see over here, she has just over 11,000 health when most characters of this age have, or not this age, but this strength, have quite a bit more. Well, just to kind of show you what I mean, let's pop over and look at not Stark Spider-Man, but Mordo, for example, who has almost 16,000 health, so quite a lower health pool than normal characters at this rank would. But she does make up with it for it with a pretty decent attack stat, and if you look at some of her abilities, she has a decent critical rating, which is, I mean, 26% isn't groundbreaking or anything. There are a couple of other things that help make up for that we'll have a look at in just a minute. But as you can see, her critical damage rating is 230%, so quite a bit more than a couple of other characters, and we'll have a look at the items here as well with some of her abilities and things that she is capable of. So let's have a look at those abilities. We'll come back to her awakened ability in just a moment. It really doesn't add a whole lot to the character as far as functionality. Most of it's with her basic standard utility. So one thing that we'll notice is her heavy attack. If you chain it on to basic attacks in a combo, then it does passively stun the opponent for 0.6 seconds. So this is a stun that wouldn't or shouldn't be affected by something like the limber nodes, and it doesn't trigger Mordo's astral evade, which is what I was going for because it's not a active stun effect from a parry. And really all it's good for is to assure that you get your 2 heavy attacks in after the 2 hits of the heavy attack without being countered in the middle of that. So it's a little bit of a failsafe, which has its own benefits, which we'll have a look at with one of her other abilities. Now, the heavy attack also inflicts weakness for 10 seconds, which helps reduce and mitigate the damage that you take from blocked hits, but really not anything super groundbreaking there. Now, when attacked, Wasp has an 8% chance, so fairly small when unawakened, to evade incoming attacks, as well as shrug off all damaging debuffs other than bleed. So yes, if you've done the math, this means that her evade cannot be countered by Iceman's Cold Snap. Really, the only thing that you can do to get rid of this evade is to have a character with True Strike. So keep that in mind when you're going up against a Wasp. You want to either bait out her heavy attacks or only attack into her when she's stunned. Don't just needlessly combo on, because that energy damage isn't exactly the nicest thing to eat. I mean, you see that's 1,384 damage, so yeah, and it lasts for 8 seconds, so it'll get you for just a minute there. Now, the thing that's important to remember back with what we talked about with the heavy attack is this passive ability is whenever Wasp shrinks down, and this also goes back to her kind of lower critical rating, this is the aspect that makes up for it. So whenever Wasp shrinks down, her next 2 hits are guaranteed to be critical. And you also get some additional attack rating with that as well. So, I mean, anytime that you do that heavy combo chain, you can just expect to see some pretty sizable chunks, especially for some of the shorter fights. Um, and the other passive ability that you'll notice is anytime she is fighting someone she has a class advantage over, so anyone in the Mystic class, she has the additional bonus of, which is an equivalent of 40 more hits on her combo meter. So when fighting somebody like a Magic or a Mephisto or other characters that are kind of problematic to deal with, that helps with some of the special attacks or helps stack with some of her special attack abilities, which we'll have a look at right now. So the reason that 40 hits on her combo meter is kind of relevant is she doesn't act like Star-Lord, where she gains extra attack for each hit in the combo meter, except for on her special 3, where she gets an additional just under 70 attack rating for each additional hit on her combo meter. And you'll notice that it doesn't stack. Her special 3 has a really cool animation, but isn't game changing. It really only has the one hit to it. So it's a nice finishing move, I suppose, but it doesn't completely make or break the character. What does a little bit more of that is what we see with her special attacks. So on the special attack one, there's a decent chance to stun the opponent, so 40% chance to stun the opponent for 2 seconds, which isn't crazy. A bit of the better utility off of that is the concussion that gets applied, which reduces the opponent's ability accuracy by 1% for each hit on the combo meter. So right off the bat with Mystic against Mystic champions, Wasp will automatically start with having up to 40% reduction. Even if you lose your combo and then are able to get a special one directly onto your opponent, you'd have a 40% ability accuracy reduction. And that concussion will always trigger on the opponent. It's the potency of it revolves around how many hits are on your combo meter. Similarly, the special attack 2 has 2 interesting components to it. So one thing that you will see is that the special attack 2 will sting the opponent for 6 seconds. This actually activates 5 different stings. So if that 6-second timer runs out, each sting will deal 1,107 energy damage. So that's 5,500 energy damage if those stings expire, which is more useful in some of the shorter fights. What is a more interesting portion of that utility, I mean, that's kind of similar to Yellow Jacket's special attacks, his bio stings. But what's a little bit more interesting is instead of stunning the opponent when those stings expire, is they will instead convert into a petrify debuff, which will reduce the effectiveness of enemy power gain and regeneration by 1.75% for each hit on the combo meter. So that can have some interesting implications. The main thing that prompted me to do this video is I was watching the Final Labyrinth path from Panda Man Pete's stream, where he was using Ghost for the majority of the path, but when he got to X23, he had brought his 5-star Wasp along to kind of showcase this effect, and I thought that it's not something that a ton of people have made a video on, so it might be kind of cool to have all of these different things rolled together into one video just so you can see the effectiveness of it. And that petrify lasts for 12 seconds if you can get it to trigger. The bigger challenge is getting to launch the special 2 and allowing that 6-second timer on the sting to expire before they launch a special attack, so you can make sure that the petrify is activated. So we said we were going to go back to the signature ability, which essentially increases her chance to shrink and counterattack, as well as reduce the cooldown as to how fast her timer ticks back so where she can evade again. And you'll notice that timer ticking next to her health bar. So this ability really doesn't add a whole lot for the character. It's some nice additional utility, but you don't really need it when all things are said and done. She has some interesting synergies that I don't really want to spend too much time on. Mainly some of her first ones listed here are, I mean, if she's on a team with Ant-Man or Wasp, then she never has her counter sting disabled, which can make her kind of annoying, but since synergies don't work on defense, then it really doesn't make a terribly large impact. And then you have intercepting attacks with Yellow Jacket or Iron Man Infinity War on the team that will apply either a concussion or a petrify if you can intercept that attack, but it only works a certain amount of times per fight. So yeah, nothing that I want to go into too specifically with that. But one thing I do want to do is I want to jump into Realm of Legends, and I'm currently paused right before the Wolverine fight, as you'll see here. And I've got Wasp over here on my team, fit and ready to go. And so what the goal is going to be is I'm going to alternate launching special ones and doing that, chaining the heavy attack onto basic attacks until I get a combo of about 150, and then we'll start attempting to launch those special twos and getting that petrify to trigger. Now, you will notice that for the majority of this fight, Wasp is just going to do absolutely nothing because she really doesn't have the damage output to counterbalance the regeneration from Wolverine. And even a 5-star Wasp wouldn't be able to out-damage his regen. So that concussion will kind of help with some of the to help prevent some of the regen, perhaps. But you're really not going to notice anything too crazy as far as that reduction until we get up in a higher combo. There's that stun. And you'll see that we aren't even putting a dent in this guy. But that's okay, because what we're really looking for is that combo meter to go up so we can showcase some of that utility with her. Now, there are characters who can take down Wolverine a lot faster, and that's not necessarily what I'm wanting to showcase is how fast Wasp can do this, because, in past trials that I've done, it takes 5 or 6 minutes, depending on how well you can keep up that combo meter. And now you'll notice with this concussion up that he doesn't get any of his regen at all. And just like that, if you're not careful trying to chain that heavy attack, you can just get comboed. So I've lost my combo there, which is kind of frustrating, and that's one of the things that you want to showcase is you've got to be very careful and kind of have a little bit of a higher skill cap to use Wasp effectively. And I'm not here to showcase that I'm the most skilled Wasp player on the planet, but I don't need to be. She feels super fluid and easy to play with too. I mean, her animations fit together really well, so she's quite a bit of fun to play. And she's definitely worth taking to rank 3. That was a bit of a risky move there. She's definitely worth taking to rank 3 or rank 4 as a 5-star. She makes a semi-decent defender, but because she isn't super annoying, I guess, if you learn how to play around her. That was the main reason that I ranked her up, is because she was an exclusive champion that could add to my alliance diversity on war defense, because nobody else really had her. And she gets a kill every now and again, but nothing super crazy. Again, she's got such a low health pool that if you just know how to play around her, you really don't have too much to worry about. Okay, that's the last special one I'm going to use. Now we want to tailor towards her special. Her special 2, so we can get that petrify up. And you'll notice that I haven't really gotten anything previous to getting that petrify up, hadn't really gotten anything more than about 5% health off. But now as this combo meter climbs higher and higher, you'll see that his health just kind of continuously melts away. And I've found that if you kind of hold your block, you can get that petrify to show back up. So, not the cleanest kill ever. Again, I played a little bit too much scrub-like, but she's an option for taking down Realm of Legends Wolverine. Labyrinth of Legends X23, it's very, very feasible to get a kill on her by using Wasp. You've just got to really stay on top of your game, and do keep in mind that that heavy attack that she has, where the stun kicks in after chaining onto basic attacks, isn't affected by limber, and so you should be able to continuously chain that on. The main reason I like using the heavy attacks and kind of avoiding rinsing, repeating the special 3s, because it helps to build up the combo quicker, because you can get easier hits in on your opponent. They're guaranteed to crit, and they don't take up nearly as much time as a special 3 animation does, where you only get the one hit out of it. So that was just kind of what I wanted to showcase there with Wasp and what she's able and capable of doing. If you have this character, I would recommend looking into and becoming more and more familiar with her. I'm happy with having her at rank 5 as a 4-star. Wouldn't complain if I ended up getting her as a 5-star at some point in time. But for now, I'm going to continue working towards my personal goal of working up to that first initial clear of Labyrinth of Legends. I know initially I said I was going to try and do that by the end of this year, but I do think that I'm going to have to push that back, just with getting Act 5 100% completed, so I can get 1, if not 2, of my champions up to rank 5. So we'll have a little bit more insight on that, but as time wears on. But let me know what you thought about the video. If there's anything else that you'd like me to go over, any other characters or any other questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Until then, this is Titus Valspar signing off, and you have a fantastic rest of your day.